Okay, so it says I'm live, but am I actually live? Because I know the last couple of times I tried to do this, they give me nothing but a blank screen at the beginning of it. And looking at my phone, yeah, it looks like I'm actually on here. So I got something cool to open for you today. It's another Neca Universal Monsters figure, kind of. It's the Fan of the Opera from Fan of the Opera. It's the ultimate Masque of the Red Death Fan of the Opera. Look at that. 100 years of Fan of the Opera. That's right, because the original Fan of the Opera came out in 1925. So this year that movie's 100 years old. Man, it's like I'm far enough into the future that I can talk about movies that are 100 years old. How about that? So nice picture on the side of the Phantom with his skull mask. Why dude bothers to wear a skull mask, I have no idea. But this should be a fun figure to open up. I've mentioned before how I saw this movie on A&E when I was just a kid, just in elementary school. So probably the first time I'd ever seen any silent movie. Actually, like sat down and watched a silent movie and was captivated by the performance of Lon Chaney as the titular character, the Phantom of the Opera. As we discover in the movie, his real name is Eric. They don't say that in the stage play, now do they? And I guess Andrew Lloyd Webber decided to omit that little tidbit. But if you watch the silent movie, his real name's Eric. So and I've got lots of cool stuff to open up still for Halloween as far as like the Universal Monsters go. I did just get in from Big Bad Toy Store. I got the Wolfman. So maybe I'll open up the Wolfman next. Go from the father to the son. And go from Lon Chaney to Creighton Chaney, a.k.a. Lon Chaney Jr., a.k.a. on this poster, he's simply billed as Lon Chaney. But this guy was the original Lon Chaney. Oh, and I got my Batgirl, my Arthur Adams style Batgirl, and she looks very pretty. Looking forward to getting that open. I got the Mego Nosferatu. I've been meaning to open for a while. I've got the Ultimate Ardeth Bay version of the Mummy that I've been meaning to open up for a while. I've got Frankenstein that I just got in recently. So we're going to have a lot of cool stuff this October. And I've also, on October 21st, I'm going to be opening up this Marty McFly figure over here. So that'll be a little bit of a break from the Halloween thing because Marty McFly is not too Halloweenish. But he is dressed as Darth Vader. in that particular figure. So I guess you could say he is wearing a Halloween costume. Bobby Wald says, are there any Vincent Price figures or did 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo ruin his career? Hey, nothing could ruin Vincent Price's career. That guy like lived through it all. You might remember his last performance ever in a movie was Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands. So yeah, he made it all the way up to the 90s. How crazy is that? Now me, I'm an 80s kid, so where I kind of first became interested in Vincent Price was Michael Jackson's album Thriller, where he did the rap in the Thriller portion of the song. And I think that's probably why they got him to do Scooby-Doo also. They were like, oh, Vincent Price is hip again, and we could probably afford him. So but there actually is a Vincent Price action figure, and it's one I was hoping maybe I could pick up and might be able to get it delivered in time to do them before Halloween. I guess we'll see. But yeah, there actually is a NECA Vincent Price action figure. And not an action figure of Vincent Price playing like a character, not a figure. This is Vincent Price from House on Haunted Hill, or this is Vincent Price from, Masque of Red Death. No, just Vincent Price, the actor. They made an action figure of him. Oh, and also there's a few figures of Vincent Price's Egghead from Batman, which I have opened up one of those on the channel. The McFarlane Batman classic TV series Egghead figure. I opened up that one. Oh yeah, so there's the figure in the package, and he's nice and creepy looking. I saw this figure. I knew I was going to have it. I'd seen pictures of it online and thought it was pretty cool. But when I saw him in person at Target, could not resist. Could not resist the Phantom of the Opera. All right, so let's get him out of the package. And I think that's everything that's supposed to be in the package. There is a nice little backdrop of the stairway at the Opera House. This is one of the coolest scenes in the whole movie, too, by the way. And probably the most famous scene, I think, is the unmasking, as it should be. But I do think that the masquerade scene is seriously cool because, for one thing, in a movie in 1925, it was actually shot in color when they were experimenting with that 2-color Technicolor process. They hadn't invented full-color Technicolor yet, but they were working on it. And they did manage to get like a full-color version. So he's got this cape, and the cape itself, it's like a very light, silky kind of fabric. I figure it's probably some kind of like synthetic fabric, like a polyester of some kind, but it feels very silky, so it might actually be silky. Man, did they put a lot of effort into this thing. Look at this. Like, so it's got a wire in it. It's a wired cape, so we can get some cool posing out of it. I don't know how well it's going to work because it's like a really light wire, but it should be at least enough that we can get it to hang on the figure in some interesting ways. I don't know if we'd be able to get it to blow dramatically behind him, but we'll see if we can figure that out. The collar itself is plastic, and it appears to be molded in a sort of slightly metallic burgundy color. They probably wanted to match it up with the sheen of the fabric as best as they could. It doesn't match up 100%, but you can tell they're trying to get it to match, and there was effort made in that direction. So good on them. And that's got this very delicate molded plastic cord that's supposed to hold it on. It's not like an actual cord that you're going to have to tie yourself. But also, there's all these little like rhinestones, kind of. Can you see those shimmer and shine? They didn't have to do that. That's something where, like, if they'd have left that detail off, I think most people would have understood and not really complained about. But they did add all these little rhinestones along the hem of the cape, and that is just some beautiful work. I suspect what that is they probably made like a strip of them on a thread or something like that, and then just kind of sewed or glued the whole thread or ribbon or whatever it is on there. But just the fact that they did that at all is astounding to me. I don't think they glued on each one individually, although it almost looks like they did. Man, that is really cool. So Neca went all out on this cape. They wanted this to be a serious cape, and it sure is. So I'm going to set that aside for just a moment, and we're going to talk some about the accessories. And I forgot to get the Phantom of the Opera glow-in-the-dark figure and bring him to the other side of the room with me. And I did really want to compare the two heads, but I'm pretty sure that this head is the same sculpt as the one that's on the glow-in-the-dark figure. The main difference that I see with it is that you can see this one, Phantom is kind of looking off to the side, whereas on that one, Phantom is looking straight ahead. They do have on the standard Ultimate Phantom of the Opera, they have a third head. It's all like that. I'm suppose that one's supposed to be the one where she rips the mask off of him and he's just aghast. This one looks more like one of the more famous film stills from the movie where he's kind of giving him the side eye. He's giving the characters the side eye as Christine is having to decide between the grasshopper and the scorpion. She's having to choose between the Phantom and Raoul, and if she chooses Raoul, it's going to blow up the whole opera house with all the dynamite underneath, and if she chooses Phantom, it'll flood the opera house, or flood the room in the opera house where the dynamite is. So, and then there's that one's the one that yeah, I think that one's the one. And then the other one, I forgot what the other one is, but there's 3 unmasked Phantom heads that come with that one, and there's 2 that come with this one. And then the third head is the actual Masque of Red Death head. So we'll talk more about that when we get that out of the package. Bobby Wald says, I give all that credit in the rhinestones on that cape. Some poor 5-year-old in a Neca sweatshop. Yeah, probably. He worked hard for the money. Well, hopefully he put it to good use. He was hopefully 5 cents an hour goes pretty far in wherever this figure was manufactured. Now I'm curious about it. I keep forgetting to read the credits on these, but after a while you read the credits on these and it's all the same names. But we'll read the credits real quick. Direction and development, Randy Falk, Stefan Folkens, sculpt, Ray Santoleri. Am I saying that right? Oh, I'm saying that right. Trevor Grove, Kyle Windricks, fabrication, Michael Minicino, paint, John Wardell and Jeff Trapp, tailoring, Sarah Martyr, photography, Stephen Mazurek, and packaging, Chris Ramo. But yeah, I'm looking to see if it says where it's made. It says made in China. So there we go. Some kid in China. Yeah, I'm sure the money goes far there. So, Monsieur, I bid you welcome. Did you think that I would harm her? Why should I make her pay for the sins which are yours? All right, so there is the staff that he comes with. Very cool, very detailed. Got a skull at the top of it. Got a snake, well, all the way around it. It's like a silver snake, and the snake looks as if it's trying to crawl up into the skull. It's actually biting the skull. It's actually biting the jawbone of the skull. Bobby Wald, Earth Dude is here. He says, "Ayo to Bobby Wald, dude, and cheers, Alan. Really digging your Universal Monster figs. Yes, so am I. Like I said, a lot of these I'd picked up over the past year and just had not gotten around to opening for whatever reason. And now I'm kind of grateful that I did, because it turned out I had lots of cool stuff to open up in time for Halloween season. So I'm excited about all of these. So he's got like a whole bunch of hands. Chaney was a good hand actor also. He was known as the Man of 1,000 Faces, but he was good at using his hands in terms of gesturing and making various emotional statements with his hands. He was almost as expressive with his hands as he was with his actual face, and that's a good thing, since oftentimes his actual face was buried under makeup, like in here. So yeah, it's other than Bela Lugosi, I can't think of another figure that would be more appropriate to give all these different hands. And he has one gripping hand, and that's going to be the hand that's going to hold his staff, obviously. And Bobby Wald says, hi back to Earth Dude. So there we go. And there we go. That's the last of the hands. Now let's look at the man himself. The Phantom of the Opera is here. Inside this box. So it's not the kind of box that the Phantom is used to being in. He's used to being in box 5 at the Paris Opera House. Let's go ahead and get him out. I got all the little rubber tabs snipped. Thought I had all the little rubber tabs snipped. It looks like I'm missing this one at the wrist. So, oops. There's always so many rubber tabs. It's hard to keep track of all of them. Now I believe I have them all. So this is not the outfit that the Phantom wears for most of the movie, where he wears like what would be fairly contemporary clothing for the time period that the movie takes place in, which would have been like late 19th century. Earth Dude asks if the mask is removable. I don't believe so. The hat is removable. But I believe that this head sculpt is completely the mask itself is completely sculpted to the head. But since he's got the other Phantom heads, you can swap them back and forth and put whichever head you want to on there to display. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I think it'll work better to have an unmasked Phantom head on there while I talk about the articulation anyway, because that Red Death head, it seems like it'd be a little stiff on there because of the I know I'd have some issues with it because of the ties from the bandana. And it is designed so you can take the hat, which is a very fancy kind of Three Musketeers looking hat, and he can wear the hat without the mask, which is cool because he wears the hat without the mask in the movie in this scene, the Apollo's Lyre scene, where he's up in the statue as the young lovers proclaim their love to each other and get secretly engaged, and Phantom is up there and afterwards just belts it out. I'm not even gonna try to sing it. How they will curse the day they did not do all that the Phantom asks of you. Well, I did try to sing it a little bit, but yeah. So it's this kind of like more like I think like a 15th century, 16th century type of getup. It's very with tights and a jerkin, and these big poofy sleeves. This is probably some kind of costume that was at the Opera House, and Phantom just swiped it so that he could have something cool to wear at the masquerade scene. But yeah, I suspect that this is something where like it was probably some kind of costume for some kind of play, and he put a skull mask on it and said, "This is Red Death." So, and for those of you who don't know, Red Death, Masque of Red Death was a story written by Edgar Allan Poe back in the 1800s. One of the first great writers of horror and suspense, the inventor of the mystery story, very influential on Arthur Conan Doyle when he was writing Sherlock Holmes. But yeah, Red Death was one of his more famous stories and was actually adapted into a movie starring Vincent Price. So so yeah, there's that. But there's lots of cool details on this. You can see he's got this kind of like Shakespeare looking collar. He's got the Elizabethan era. That's the era that I'm looking for. He's got this pouch here so he can keep his wallet and his keys and everything in there. So that's nice. And these cool expressive hands. That's the hands that come on the figure. They're both kind of gesturing hands. I'm going to go ahead and right now and swap out one of these hands for a gripping hand so he can be holding the staff. So we're probably going to get to that in a minute. All right, so let's talk about his articulation, since I haven't put the cape on yet, and I went through all the trouble of putting this head on there because I figured that'd be the best one to discuss articulation with. And this might be the head I wind up displaying him with. I would like to have like an unmasked head. As cool as this head is, I would like to have the one where we can actually see Chaney's face, such as it is. But one detail that I noticed about this that I never noticed in all my years of watching it, and I'm going to blame part of that of watching it on like cheap VHS cassettes, is you can see that a little bit of his nose, such as it is, a little bit of his nose peeking through the mask there in the nose hole of the skull, which I think is a really nice detail. And of course, like Shaney, when he was when he was wearing this makeup, he built up a lot of the cheekbones and everything with mortician wax, and he's wearing false teeth, obviously, and he had kind of pieces underneath his cheeks to kind of help push him up at some parts and hollow him out at some other parts, and piece in his mouth to give him that right sort of scowl, and the nose is like the freakiest part to me because he actually had like a couple of hooks his nose to pull the hook. I don't think they were embedded in his flesh, but just kind of like to hook into his nostrils and pull them up. So he's got his nose literally pulled up like this the whole time he's playing the character. And there's little wires that are made up under his makeup to pull the nose back, and hidden under his wig and his bald cap and all this kind of stuff. That's another thing. I think on the glow in the dark figure, I think they painted in the back of his hair as if it was like, you know, a full head of hair, but no, he's bald in the back. He's got this kind of, just the hair grows out at that part. I kind of figure this isn't like male pattern baldness. This is like part of his deformity, as he never grew hair at the back of his skull there. If you've seen the makeup that he had in the stage play, a lot of the times they even have like parts of the skull itself exposed, and that's pretty gruesome. Definitely a lot better than like Gerard Butler, who looks like he had like a bad allergic reaction to lobster or something like that. I'm not even somebody who hates on that particular movie. I actually enjoy it, but I will say that Phantom's makeup is probably the weakest aspect of that particular film. All right. Some other people might say Gerard Butler singing, but I actually kind of like his singing. It's kind of more like a rock and roll kind of growl thing going on. I think it works for what it is, and I can see how some people would be disappointed that it was not the masterful operatic singing that you usually get in like a stage production of it, like a Michael Crawford type thing, or the guy that I saw at the Fabulous Fox. He was really good. I wish I could remember what that guy's name was, but yeah. It is the sort of thing where, like, I kind of feel like for being a movie and more aimed at normies, it works. So, the theater kids have their production cast albums that they can listen to, and honestly, on my Halloween mix, the version of Phantom of the Opera I have on there is the Gerard Butler one, just because I feel like it fits thematically with the rest of the rock and roll type music that mostly is on my Halloween mix. Anyway, I was going to talk about the articulation. So Phantom can look up about that far, look down about that far. Not as good neck articulation looking down as the glow in the dark figure, because of the collar, or the standard figure, which I don't have. Tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around, and of course the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. He does have that, I think that has that little bit of extra neck articulation that NECA usually has. But again, this big poofy collar is going to render a lot of that articulation moot, unfortunately. But it is what it is. This is what he looks like in the movie. So you want it to be accurate to the movie, right? So of course the arm rotates all the way around the shoulder. Man, I want to again give some credit on that attention to detail. Look at all the seams and everything in the sleeve. Just looks so cool. Phantom's arms can raise up to the side about that far. He does have a single joint of articulation at the elbow, which bends about that far. So great range of motion as far as bending in. That's greater than 90 degrees. So that's good. And then the arm rotates all the way around, but it is at a little bit of an angle. So, and then of course the wrists rotate all the way around, but they're underneath this kind of long sleeve. So they're going to kind of bump up against that when you move them. So be careful of that. But they do rotate all the way around. And then all the hands, I believe, has a horizontal hinge on them, so they can move back and forth like so. So that's pretty cool. All the torso articulation, such as it is, seems to be embedded underneath this rubber tunic, but you can get some good posing out of it anyway. But there's not like really a whole lot that you can do with it, because it's all underneath this rubbery tunic. Now, like, I am going to say, like from what I've seen of this figure so far, it is not up to the usual levels of articulation that we see on a NECA figure. But I'm honestly okay with that, because like a lot of that is just because of the costuming of the figure, and I would probably rather they be accurate to the costuming of the figure. It's not like Phantom of the Opera is a guy that you're going to be like bending him into a bunch of Spider-Man poses. You know what I mean? You're probably going to wind up standing this guy on your shelf holding the staff, and that's going to be it. So, like, any kind of extra articulation we get on this guy, as far as I'm concerned, is gravy. I'm I'm happy with the articulation, even if it is a little more limited by NECA standards. Phantom can kick up about that far. He's got a single joint of articulation at the knee, which bends in about that far and rotates all the way around. I will say that even the single joints of articulation on this guy, since he is so skinny, like I said, it's a little bit more than 90 degrees. You can see that it's maybe like 92 degrees or something like that. But yeah, I like that. And then the ankle is interesting. So it looks like the ankle is going to rotate all the way around. It's at a slight angle. He's got these they almost look like beetle boots, but with a little like what Robin has. Kind of like Robin type shoes, which makes sense because again, this is like a kind of a more medieval Elizabethan kind of look, and Robin is based off Robin Hood, so obviously, I got Robin right here. We can have a look. So he's going to have a lot of the same sort of things in common. Their costumes aren't really that different if we compare Robin's costume to Red Death. Honestly. Kind of funny. So, but again, it's because it's kind of vaguely based off of that same time period. All right, so now that we've been through all of that, let's go ahead and get this guy into his full Red Death mode, so we can set aside the chainy head for now. We've already got that gripping hand on there. Excuse me. So I'm gonna put the cape on. I'm going to be very careful as I do this because, like I said, this is a delicate plastic cord, and I am terrified this thing is going to break. and I do have to loop the plastic cord underneath where the frilly Shakespeare-looking collar is. I think there was an episode of Doctor Who was where I remember it, where they made the joke that it was like a type of neck brace that the doctor had invented for Shakespeare when he hurt his neck, and it just kind of became his look after that. And you can see I did successfully get the cape on without breaking it, so that's good. So I'm probably never going to touch that thing again. I'm probably just going to leave that on there, not try to remove it under any circumstances. We can go ahead and pop the Red Death head back on there. And if I do change it out again for the chainy head, I'm going to be like really super careful with it. And before I put the hat on, I'm going to go ahead and put the staff in his hand. And I'm going to look at how the staff is posed in the picture. So I'm going to be kind of particular about that. It looks like he holds it in different ways. So I am going to, let's see. I think here will be a good spot. Plus, it's going to be interesting to see how it fits in there with the snake wrapped around it. And these are like smaller hands than say I'd be dealing with like a Masters of the Universe figure in this same scale, because his hands are much more realistically proportioned. But I think I got it in there okay. There we go. And let's go ahead and get that hat on him. And he's almost kind of like how you imagine a pirate, where he's got this sort of bandana tied around his head, and then you put the hat over that. And there is like a little bit of where the big plume on there is sculpted to kind of fit around the bandana on this. So you can tell, like, even though it's made so that it can fit on the chainy heads for that Apollo Lyre series. Nerd is here, and he says, classic NECA horror, or NECA classic horror. There goes my dyslexia again. NECA classic horror, yes, absolutely. And we're going to have more to come this month. We've had quite a bit on here already, and we're going to have even more. Well, we're going to have some NECA that isn't necessarily horror, because we've got that Back to the Future figure I want to open. But this is what I was talking about with this wired cape. See how I can actually kind of bend it across his arm and make it look like it hangs a little more naturally on there. That's what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure that's the way they designed this so that you can have it kind of droop a little bit in certain spots and actually conform to how the figure is posed, so it can kind of properly drape over his arms like that. I'm pretty sure that's, look how long the cape is. And that's not even as long as the cape actually was in the movie. The cape in the movie is like ridiculous long. Nerd says autism and ADHD for me. Yeah. That sounds familiar. So you're gonna feel right at home here. So yeah, but yeah, I really like how that turned out. That turned out really cool. Like I said, I don't think it's gonna be quite strong enough that we can be able to. Yeah, it's not quite strong enough that it can stand up on its own. So it's not like you're gonna be able to get any kind of windswept kind of poses out of it, like with a McFarlane Batman cape or something like that. So, but it's just enough. It's just enough that you can get it to pose around the figure's arms and such, and that's cool enough. I think that is neurodiversity nation indeed. So Bobby Walt asks, is Neca the one doing all the Ben Cooper 80s Halloween costume figures? Yes, they are. They're doing a lot of those, and I think Super 7 was doing their own line, like a reaction type line. I think it was Super 7. It might have been Funko. It's one of the two, but they were doing like 3 3/4 inch versions. But yeah, NECA's doing. I think they're actually supposed to be in scale with like 8-inch figures, because those are like the cloth costume figures technically. But you could probably stand it with 7-inch figures, and I think they look fine. So, and I do actually. I don't want to say anything about it yet, but I do actually have one of those to open. Yeah, so I'm going to have one of those to open this Halloween season, and I'm not going to say which one yet, but if you've been watching this channel long enough, you know who my favorite character is, right? You know who my favorite character is. So it's like, he's the guy that I got the most figures of back there, so that ought to be a good hint as to who my favorite character is. So that might not necessarily saying it is, but that might give you a hint as to what character that I'm talking about. Yeah. So, well, but we'll get to that when the time comes, when the all in due time. I haven't actually decided what's going to be the figure that I open like on Halloween or closest to Halloween, or even if I'm going to be able to open a figure on Halloween. So it's possible I might just not have time to squeeze in one on Halloween, but I am going to save something special for Halloween Day, or at least as close to it as I have a show coming up. We'll just see. We'll just see what figure we're going to open up. Nerd says, I just picked up NECA King Kong for sale at Walmart. Yeah, that Walmart sale has been really good. That's where I got Creature from the Black Lagoon that I opened a while back, and that's where I got Doc Brown that I'll be opening on November 5th. So yeah, and there's more figures there I want to get. They had like E.T. and Predator and a few other ones that I thought were really cool. Ash from the first Evil Dead movie, which would not be like the Ash that I would want to have the most. I kind of feel like I'd want to have the Evil Dead 2 Ash the most, even though my favorite Evil Dead movie is actually Army of Darkness. But I kind of feel like that's the one that's kind of like the most definitive, most iconic look for the character is Evil Dead 2. So anyway, he turned out really cool. I'm really happy with how this figure looks. They really captured the look of the scene and everything. And like I said, I always thought one of the coolest scenes in the movie. I always thought that even when I'd only seen the black and white version, and when I saw the 2-color Technicolor version, that was when it really blew me away. And then they have the other scene that's I believe that's hand colored, that they tinted every frame with Phantom on Apollo, the Apollo's Lyre scene, where he's crouching on the statue, and they just colored them all in this blood red color. It's so freaking cool. So yeah, and remember, Phantom the Opera is a public domain movie now, and you can actually watch it on YouTube for free. So if you haven't ever seen it, well, there's a good opportunity for you to watch it. So there you go. Me, I grew up watching The Thing. Like I said, I had it on like a cheap, one of those public domain VHS cassettes. This one was so cheap, it didn't even have any kind of musical accompaniment. It was literally a silent movie. So I was on my own finding music to play in the background. And I kind of figured like Danny Elfman type stuff worked pretty well. I'd have like, the Batman Returns soundtrack or something playing in the background, or music for a darkened theater or something like that. Probably want to skip like if you do that one, probably want to skip like some of the more comedic tracks on there, like say the Pee-wee's Big Adventure or Simpsons themes. As awesome as those themes are, they don't really fit the vibe that you'd want to have going on when you're watching Fan of the Opera. But lots of other good tracks on there. If you got Spotify, you could have put together, well, if I had Spotify back then, I could have just put together like anything. Dance Macabre is another good one. What was the, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but the piece of music I'm talking about. So Nerd says, I got the Flash Gordon versus Ming the Merciless NECA 2-pack for Christmas. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that set. I think I have Ming over here, actually. Yeah, this one. Oh, yeah, I love these figures. Like Flash is okay. I like the Flash figure just fine. I like it definitely better than I thought I would have, as far as, like just taking the comic style Flash Gordon and repainting him into the movie style character. But Ming just worked out beautifully. I love this Ming figure. This is definitely one of the best Mings. Just absolutely. I don't know if I'd say this is my most favorite Ming, because I also really like the Defenders of the Earth version of Ming. And of course, I'm sure you noticed I got the two vintage card figures back there on my wall. I had to buy extras of those so that I could keep them on the card, just because I love the card artwork so much. And I'm also a big fan of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And turns out at Mattel in the old days, when they did the original figures, it was Mark Taylor, the guy who designed He-Man. A lot of people consider him to be the true father of He-Man. He illustrated those. That's so very cool. So yeah, I had to have extras of those to keep on there. So here we can have our two red robed guys. Get them on there together. So but yeah, I love that Ming figure. The Ming figures, the Flash figure is good. The Ming figure is great. So that's the difference between good and great. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for Phantom of the Opera. I hope you enjoyed watching these videos with me, with the glow in the dark figure yesterday and this one. And maybe at some point in the future, I'll try to get the more standard version of Phantom. I do think that that is a really cool figure and definitely worth picking up. But for right now, I'm going to be happy with the glow in the dark figure and this version. I think that's going to satisfy my Phantom itch for the moment. So let's see if I can get him to stand up. His ankles are kind of stiff, so that's going to make that a little bit of a challenge when I take the picture. Bobby Wald says, I give Roger Sweet credit for He-Man. He came up with the concept. Mark fine-tuned it. Yeah, there's definitely cases to be made for who is the true creator of He-Man. Success is rarely an only child, and failure is often an orphan. So, you know what I mean? So, it's debatable as to, but yeah, Roger Sweet is definitely the dude who came up with the name He-Man. And I think that was part of the success. He came up with the concept of like making a ridiculously over-muscled action figure. And I think a lot of that was like very instrumental in the success of He-Man. I don't know. I would imagine that was probably like the biggest part of the success of He-Man was he was just like a big freaking muscular dude. But all the cool stuff from the mythology, I think, pretty much came from Mark Taylor. Like, yeah, like you mentioned here. Oh, Nerd says, love the shirt. Thank you. Appreciate that. Got that at Five Below. It's rare I actually find them in my size over there. But yeah, as Bobby Wald points out, Mark Taylor did create Skeletor and came up with a lot of the other characters when he was designing the characters. I'd say he was like probably mostly responsible for the creation of, say, Beastman and Tila and Merman and all those guys. Castle Grayskull. He actually sculpted the original prototype for Castle Grayskull because the playset guys, the engineers they had working on that at Mattel, they were making it look too Stinkor. Yeah, I love Stinkor too. They were making it look too kind of just straight up and down, and he's like, no, it needs to be all like organic and, you know, make it sort of irregular and asymmetrical. And I've said before, Castle Grayskull was the thing that really got me into He-Man. Like I loved the figures. The figures were great, but it was the castle itself that just really captured my imagination and all the mystery of the castle and everything like that. I was just absolutely fascinated with it. So next figure I'm going to go open up next episode is going to be the Wolfman. I figure we go from Lon Chaney Sr. to Lon Chaney Jr. And I did just get this guy very excited about opening him up. Looks really cool. And then, of course, I've got Frankenstein's monster, and I've got the Mummy, the Ardath Bey Mummy. So I figure probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Wolfman, and then I'm going to open up the Mummy, and then we'll round out our classic Universal monsters with Frankenstein. I think that's all of them that I have. I'm pretty sure that's all of them that I have now at this point. So yeah, Wolfman's going to be next. So that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Phantom of the Opera, the Masque of Red Death. Are you as impressed with this figure as I was? Are you impressed with this scene in the movie as I was? Did you go and check out the silent movie this here on YouTube to watch for free? If not, you should do that when you're done watching this. It will make for good Halloween viewing, certainly. Bobby Wald says, I like on the Toys That Made Us that Mark started talking about how he had to do all the designing on Castle Grayskull, but he designed it too small, so they had to expand the bottom so the door can fit the figures. Yeah, and that was something else where it's like, sometimes I wonder if the toy makers even understood how we played with toys. And I don't remember if it was Mark Taylor himself that came up with it, but yeah, somebody was saying that like, oh, well, they can just bend the figures over and fit them in that way. And somebody was smart enough to say, no, kids don't play with the figures that way. They want to actually have them walk through the castle door. Because honestly, like, there are certain things about these toys that I'm willing to not take so literally, but doors are one thing. Like, he needs to be able to walk through a door. If it's a door the character is having to crawl through, I'm going to take that literally. He's having to crawl through like a secret entrance or something, that's fine. But for the main entrance of the castle, no, that would not have worked. Also with the ladder, how they had to include the ladder because they needed a way for them to get to the other floor. They could, and the elevator, that's why they always have elevators on play sets. You need a way for the character to get to the other floor. Now technically, kid's probably going to skip it. He's probably not going to every single time have him climb up that ladder or every single time take the elevator. Sometimes he is just going to take the figure and put it up there, but he's still going to be thinking about how did he get up there. You know, if it's Superman or something, Superman doesn't need stairs in his Fortress of Solitude. If you watch the 1978 movie, he doesn't have stairs in his Fortress of Solitude because he's Superman. He doesn't need stairs. He just flies everywhere, which I thought was kind of a brilliant sort of thing that they did when they were designing that fortress, unlike some other people that might put stairs in their Fortress of Solitude. James Gunn. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Always make sure you like and subscribe. I mean, like, some of you are already subscribed, so just at least like it, I guess. It wouldn't make more sense for you to subscribe now. But if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. Like, he couldn't possibly hurt. Leave a comment down below. I like it when people leave comments, so that's always appreciated. And that's it for this episode. Next episode is the Wolfman. Hope you enjoyed this one. We will talk to you next time. Bye. Okay.